Welcome to the Practicing Accountant Podcast, the podcast for the modern accountant running the modern accounting firm. Today, we're going to tackle one of my favorite topics, which is the ideal client avatar. We're going to talk about how to discover your own ideal client by analyzing your own client base, defining that avatar of the ideal client, and how to get more of them to optimize your practice and enjoy the work that you do. Enjoy this episode. I feel for you on the teething. I'm fortunately old enough now and away from my kids' adolescence. I don't remember those moments as well. So you're in.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry about that.
No, that's how babies go, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not one thing, it's the other, and I'm sure I'll have different challenges.
Oh, it's all relative. Like we had our son had his first official date the other night, and it brings with it a whole different perspective of concerns and questions and rules and expectations. And so, there's a tooth every year. It's just a different kind of tooth.
How old is your son?
15.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
But nice. It's good, right? I mean, I'm stoked for him. It's just great. It's different. That's the thing. It's just new. There's always something new.
Well, that's the hard part about having a daughter is I won't be stoked.
Right. Totally. Totally. Well, yeah. You got yeah. My father-in-law, my wife, she's got 3 sisters. So anytime I sit down with my father-in-law, I have a great deal of respect for what he must have experienced. With a house of 4 girls, all in their teenage years, going through whatever they're going through, and
God bless him.
Yeah, God bless him indeed. All right, so we get started here.
Yeah, let's do it. So last week we covered overcoming the fear of buying clients. So obviously we talked about the 2 out, 1 in. So let's talk about the 1 in. Let's talk about let's back up. Let's talk about identifying the clients that are your great clients as opposed to the ones you're firing, and then how to get those clients.
Yeah, and I kind of look at it in analogy. I look at most things with analogies, but like think of your favorite restaurant. Like, what is it about your favorite restaurant that you appreciate the most? Is it the fact that you walk in the door and they're happy to see you, or they remember your name, or they have the table set for you and or saved for you in the corner, and their menu, or they know what you like and they tell you about this special they've got, and or you order the thing that you've ordered every single time you've been there because you love it so much, and the wait staff is polite, the price isn't too crazy, or maybe it is, maybe you don't mind spending $300 on a meal. But you come with it an expectation of comfort, of somewhat excitement, of just that feeling of connection with the place, and I look at that like clients. Like what do clients offer us? What feelings do they bring up for us? What comfort do they provide us? What excitement do they provide us? And if we're working with a bunch of clients that don't offer us any sort of emotional or financial or developmental reason to be working with them, what are we doing? How are we spending our time? Where's the opportunities that are being, or what opportunities are being lost by working with them? You wouldn't go to a restaurant where you didn't like the food, or they were overpriced, or the service sucked, or it was in a location of town that just was inconvenient. I mean, there's so many things that you can look at your clients and say, this doesn't make sense. This isn't what I signed up for. This is what I became an entrepreneur for. This is what I'm sacrificing my family's time for. And I think we're in a special time right now. We're in June, and June is the best month of the year for an accountant for the most part. There's no significant deadlines. The extensions are on pause. The deadlines that are coming later this summer, early this fall are months away. Vacations are happening. Kids are out of school. It's a very special time. And I think I alluded to this in a previous conversation, to break the hamster wheel of public accounting, now is the time. Now is the time to be looking at the clients to decide who it is you want to be working with and who it is you don't. And I'm not encouraging, and I want to be clear about this. I'm not saying fire anyone at the moment. I'm not saying to, pull 25% of your clients at this moment. That's not my intent. My intent first is to be able to identify the ones you want to work with and ones you don't. And I call it the ideal client avatar, the ICA, and you can come up with whatever acronym or whatever name you want to call them. I could care less, but we need to have a moniker in which we can identify those we want to work with and those we don't. And for me, it's that ICA. And what makes the best client? Well, good news, most likely it's already been defined, meaning if you can go through the clients you have, and if you can look at them and analyze them and look at different factors, like, do they pay on time? What's my gut feel when they call? Do they want me to provide more service than I am? Are they thankful for the service I provide? Do they pay on time? Do they get the information on time? Do they want to see me more than just once a year or at all? There's many ways that you can carve up your client list into, things that you like, don't like about them. But most likely there are a few clients that people have today that you really like working with for some reason.
Yeah.
And it'll start to kind of rise to the surface if you do this analysis. You'll start to notice that the ones you get to work with the most have some commonality. And it might be because they value you so much. It might be because they invite you to the summer picnic or barbecue. It might be because they stop by when they're driving by to say hello. It might be that they don't stop by and bother you. I have no judgment, and I'm not particular because it's each of our own particulars that make up this ideal client. It's not universal. But to go through that exercise, you will find that some of your clients fit for whatever reason. And those are the ones we want to hold on to. Those are the ones we want to make sure we're serving and making sure they're getting the right attention, especially, despite having some clients that we really prefer not to have. But being able to identify what you like is a precursor towards taking some steps.
With our clients, we have a gut feeling of clients that we like. And you have a gut feeling of clients that you don't like when you see their name pop up on an email. You know whether it's going to be a good interaction or bad interaction. So what we like to do is figure out, kind of reverse engineer why we like that client. So we know we like them. Why do we like them? Because they're on time, they pay well, they pay on time, they get their stuff, whatever it is. So you can reverse engineer the attributes that are important to you based on that gut feeling.
Well, the gut feeling to me, if I had to define what a gut feeling is, it's shared values. You're in a position where you're with someone who honors and respects what you honor and respect, that they appreciate the things you appreciate. And so that gut feeling usually comes down to shared values, which is something you can do some work on to figure out which values specifically that you're sharing. But that's something to notice. Like if you're working with someone who doesn't value the things you do, most likely they're not going to have a good gut feeling.
Yeah.
If they appreciate, cheap, quick, single touch points in their relationship with their CPA, whereas the CPA prefers multiple touch points, strong relationship, not transaction-based experiences for their clients, that gut feeling is going to pop up and say, I don't like this one. And it's a great attribute to use in this effort, but it is an effort. And I think that's the point I really want to drive home, is that this is an effort and this is the time to do it. It's the time to print out your client list and go down by whatever information you have. And I know not everyone has all the information you'd like to have, but whatever you do, whether it's name, the engagement fee, the hours spent, the number of services that are being provided, whatever it is, get that list together so you can start this process. And then the process becomes identifying those attributes, those things that are important to you, those things that are intimate to you, that are your particulars, that make a good client relationship. And again, no judgment on it. Like this is your business. It should be working with people you want to work with for the right reasons.
And not what the industry is saying
No.
should be the right clients. What do you like working with? And whether that's the industry that you're working in, the services that you're providing, the prices that you're charging. I mean, pick what feels good for you and run with it, because you started this business to have some freedom, and again, be free. It's your effing business.
Right.
Well,
choose to work with who you want to work with.
Yeah.
Is really a demonstration of that freedom, is to be able to say, no, I don't want to work with you. That's okay. I have a running joke with a client that, this is going to sound gross and cross, so forgive me, but I have this running joke with a client that he needs to put his pee away. Now that sounds awful, right? But what I'm talking about is his people pleaser. Oh. He gets his people pleaser out too much. And when he's got this pee out, then he says yes to everything. He says yes to whatever comes in the door, whatever opportunity calls, or whatever work he can do. But if he put his pee away and really focus more on less of saying yes and more on being strategic and intentional about what's important to him for his business, the experience he wants to have in his business, then he has a chance to really thrive in it.
Mm-hmm.
He has a chance to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
He has a chance to not be afraid of phone calls or emails or work, because he's only going to let in what he wants, and he's only going to work on what he wants. Or she.
That's amazing. I love that.
But we have to be mindful of the PP. But this effort, now's the time to do it. So you got this list, you identify the attributes. It could be, niche. It could be like the type of industry they're in. It could be the size of the company that it is. It could be the place in town that it is. If it's something that has to be geographically close, or if you don't care, it's okay too. But once you're able to go through that, you can analyze what are the common attributes of your client base.
Mm-hmm.
You can start to see, which ones are really doing well for you and in creating that enjoyment and that ability to thrive, and which ones aren't. And you can group them into A, B, C, and D. And, you and I have joked before about kind of that spring cleaning perspective of, here's the ones I want to keep. Here's the t-shirt that I don't want to get rid of. Here's the, I ran in the 2014 Colfax Marathon t-shirt and I can't get rid of that.
Right.
And then there's the, maybe I can turn this into something I want to wear and want to keep, call it for me, it's like, I go like this with my weight. And so, even though I get big or small, I still keep certain shirts that I know don't fit because I love them so much. And I just try to work towards, fitting into them or expanding into them. Yeah. Right. So you got your keep, you got your grow into, and then you get into kind of a little bit more of an intentional groupings, which are the ones I want to give away, like goodwill, which ones are the ones that, I would be happy to hand to someone else. And then you get to a pile that's just like, throw it away. Like, just get rid of it. These are clients that are toxic. These are clients that make my day hell. These are the ones that are never on time. These are the ones that are always wanting something when they shouldn't. These are the ones that call every day for 5-minute questions.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever distinction, again, I'm not judging. There should be a throw out. And with that knowledge, now you can kind of see what you should be getting more of based on those common attributes, and what you shouldn't be letting in the door based on, again, some common attributes. And with that knowledge, then you can proceed to some of the next phases of creating capacity and creating a better experience in the business. But without that knowledge, it's hard to know what it is. I just got off the phone with a partner in a firm in Long Island, and she wants to leave and do her own thing. But for me, the conversation with her was not about where she should go or what she should be doing. It's what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? It's the same question for anyone listening to this. It's what do you want? What client experience do you want? And that brings another factor, I think, into it as well, is there's the attributes which are very distinct on the client, but there's also just the personal experience that the CPA or a CPA wants to have in their business. For instance, do you want to work Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays and leave Mondays and Fridays open for whatever you want to do, whether it's work on the business or network or work on the yard or go shopping or whatever it is that it might be interesting to do. Certain clients into that experience depending on who they are and what they want. And so you can make those clients fit into the client experience that you want to have, the type of relationship you want to have. For instance, and this is a specific example for me, I try to only book clients on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Sounds familiar. And so, I stack my Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday back to back, or as much as I can handle. And then I leave Mondays and Fridays open. And I spend Mondays and Fridays networking, going to coffees, going to lunches, talking to new clients, potential new clients, writing a story or whatever it is I want to do, because that's the kind of experience I want to have with my clients and my life. And so I hold that. And so if someone calls and says, I want to work with you on Friday, then I think, well, do I have anything else going on Friday? Do I want to spend the time otherwise? I don't, or I do. And I'll either book them or make them wait till a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. But considering how the ideal client avatar isn't just about what the client looks like, but also what the business looks like.
What you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do we do with the clients that are ideal? So we identify them, we already have them. Should we adjust pricing? Should we adjust services? Should we present more? Or do we just kind of let them stay where they're at and look for more of those similar avatars?
I'd answer it this way. And it's not extremely helpful, but I'll answer it this way. Our client list should be evolving.
Mm-hmm.
We should have growth in the quality of our clients. We should be getting better ones and losing worse ones. Mm-hmm. And that evolution doesn't necessarily stop, which means if you've got great clients today, fine, enjoy them, keep them. But the next client that comes in should be as great as them or better. Yeah. And so that evolution continues. And then the next one after that is better for whatever reason. And it doesn't have to be price. It could just be because of the type of business they do, or just because you're excited to work with them or whatever.
To the point where your A client now might be a C client 3 years from now. Sure.
Or you may not even have to have a C designation. It's just all A's and B's.
Yeah.
But you're right. In following that series of events, you ultimately would take your great client and they wouldn't look so great in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But that evolution is something that has to be given intention, and it has to be made. It's unfortunately not natural, like most evolutions. Like it's something that has to be influenced.
Yeah.
And if we are just bringing in more of the same, especially if we're bringing in more that we're going to throw out in a couple of years, we're not evolving. We're letting that hamster wheel go around again another turn, doing the same thing, expecting different results. I had another conversation this morning with another partner that, he was looking at this next busy season, saying, well, it won't be so bad next year. It'll be better. It'll be better. We'll find some resources. Yeah, right. We'll find some resources, and there won't be any change in guidance and rules, and it'll be better. There won't be any transactions like there was this year.
Yeah.
And that story, unfortunately, causes an optimistic bias. And we look at the future as being something that's going to be better than the past without doing anything different. And unfortunately, optimism needs a dose of reality. And that dose of reality comes through intention of evolving and growing and being better, not just expecting it.
Yeah.
There's a thing called. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, change doesn't happen without change.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a thing called the Stockdale paradox, and it was based on a story about a gentleman, Stockdale, who was shot down over Vietnam, became a POW, and he was in the camp for a long time. I want to say 7 years, and don't quote me on that, but it was a long time. And he ultimately survived, and he got out, and he came back to the States, and they asked him, how was it? And of course, he was like, it was horrible, it was shitty. And he said, well, a lot of folks died over there. And he said, and they asked him, what happened to them? And they said, well, they died of a broken heart. Now that sounds kind of superfluous. It just sounds strange, dying of a broken heart, but it actually, it means that they didn't take care of themselves. They didn't eat. They stopped drinking water. They really just gave up. And so they passed, unfortunately, in this horrible camp. But they asked Stockdale, like, well, how did you survive? He's like, well, I had hope that we'd get rescued. And, the folks that passed, they would think like Christmas was when they're going to get rescued and no chopper would come in, or Easter would be cool, or 4th of July would be even greater, and fireworks and a rescue team to come in. I had that hope. This is what Stockdale said. But at the same time, I also recognized the reality of my situation, which is horrible. And he made rules on how long they could be tortured before they gave up information. They figured out ways to communicate with one another, how to send signals to one another, how to support one another. And his group, they had hope, they had optimism, but they dealt with the reality of their situation and the pessimism of the situation. And so they're able to survive, and they're able to come home, and they're able to go on to lead lives. And how do I bring that back to our conversation? I think a lot of accountants get into a position of optimism and hope that it'll be better without doing anything about it. Mm-hmm. And so another busy season comes, another year in the concentration camp, in the POW camp, and it's just a horrible experience again. Nothing has changed, but nothing has changed. But point being is like being able to recognize the reality of the situation, which is I have a lot of clients that either don't appreciate me or I don't appreciate them, that I am continuing to serve year after year.
Yeah.
And it's not making a difference for me. In fact, it's causing me pain, it's causing me stress, it's causing me hours. But to capture these moments and to do something about it is what's key.
Yeah.
So I think a natural progression of the conversation now might be, what do you do with some of those clients? Well, we talked about the more in the more out and the one in. Like this list now that we have, especially the throwaways, those are now prime suspects. Mm-hmm. They are now the clients that we will get out so we can bring in. And bringing in a CPA firm just might be answering the phone. But with our ideal client avatar now, as opportunities are coming to us and we put our PP away, we're able to look at these opportunities as, are they the right fit? Are they ones I should say yes to because I've got some I can say no to and replace them and have a better experience? That starts that evolution. And how do those clients come to you if the phone doesn't ring? Well, put the word out. Like share with your neighbors, share with your network. These are the types of clients I'm looking for. These are my ideal client avatars. Put that out there into the world in whatever form or fashion you find comfortable with, and let it be known that I want to work with construction businesses and smaller ones and within the $5 to $10 million range, and then roofing or whatever it may be. Like, put the word out. Let the website speak to it. Let your LinkedIn profile speak to it. Let the networking events that you attend be around it. Go to the construction events or the manufacturing events or the retail, whatever they are. Go to those events, be seen. And this isn't a big stretch. I know this for CPAs because, frankly, they probably don't have to do a lot of this now. They're probably not going to have to do a lot of it then, but they just now know what they should say yes or no to. And when they say yes to something, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2. We're going to get rid of some stuff along the way, which creates hopefully a better experience for the client, or for the CPA, either through pricing, through the work they're doing, the niche they're in, or whatever attribute they're focused on in their ideal client avatar. And so we've made a difference.
I guess picking your ICA is niching, and niching is powerful, and it doesn't mean that you have to only take those clients. That's just your marketing message. Niching is just the marketing message. That's it. But that will drive you forward without, after a year of being in your niche, so to speak, you won't have to do any work to get new clients that are your ICAs.
I'm not going to say this was completely strategic, but when I named my business the CPA Coach, I did it because I wanted to be as simple and as clear what I did. Now, it still causes confusion. I still get, taxpayers that want to know if I can coach them on their taxes, and that's fine. But the majority of the content that comes to me, or the outreach that comes to me, the inreach, are CPAs looking for a coach, because I put it out there that this is what I do. This is where I'm focused. My LinkedIn, my website, articles I write, whatever, they're pointed at CPAs. And if you Google, CPA and coach, the United States, I'm usually at the top, if not number one. And that's not because of some kind of magic SEO. That's just because of what I name myself.
Intentional.
And because I have to use my name in all kinds of language and writing. And so I'm the one who puts those two words together more than anyone in the country.
Right.
Because it's just who I am. And so for listeners here, just to be able to put that out there and speak to it and be able to call it out and mention it and share it and speak to it and attend it, then it becomes what you do. It becomes what you're known for. To your point, when you think of someone that serves roofers, they think of you because that's what you put out there.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean we have to turn introverts into extroverts. It doesn't mean we have to hire, an advertising agency to put it out there. I mean, it first starts with being able to speak to it.
Yeah.
If you're at a barbecue and someone says what you do, you can say, well, I'm a CPA, and in the conversation, or you can say, I'm a CPA that specializes in roofers.
Right.
And just imagine how differently that conversation then goes. When you're a CPA, they're like, oh, okay, and you do taxes.
Yeah.
When you're a CPA for roofers, they go, oh, do you know Bob?
I know a roofer.
You got to meet Bob over here. He's a roofer. And all of a sudden, it's just, you've opened it to the world that this is what you do. This is what you like to do. And this might be what you want to do. And it starts to open some doors that otherwise would be closed or just didn't know they need to be opened. I like to shop. And that may sound weird, but I do. But I only like to shop when I know the place that I'm going to has what I'm looking for. So I don't like to browse.
Same.
I don't like to try a lot on.
Yeah.
Like I want to go in and get what I want and get out. And I think there's a lot of taxpayers out there that feel the same. Like they want to go to the place that they know can serve them, provide what they're looking for, have the experience and expertise to serve them. And they're willing to, guess what, pay a premium for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why niching is so important, is because it allows you not only to focus your efforts in developing business, it also allows you to charge a lot more money.
You bet.
Because you stand out from the crowd as being the one that they should pick because of your expertise and what you do. And that makes you unique. It makes you special, it makes you different. It sets you apart. And with that comes premium.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you're bringing in new clients, especially as you've identified this avatar, you're allowed to charge more than the most highest paying client you have.
Right.
Your pricing, it should make you a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I had a discussion with a CPA, owns a small firm about his pricing recently. And I asked him some questions. I asked him, how long he's been a CPA. I asked him, how long did he study for the exam? Did he pass it in 1 or 2 tries or more? How long did he spend, or how many clients has he served? How many transactions, unique transactions has he had to deal with? And we're getting into the thousands now of events that have occurred. And I said, just think about all of that experience you bring to the table when you sit with a client and then compare that to what you're charging them. Does that seem fair? And the answer was ultimately no. And it was a leading question and unfair, but I don't care. I got to the answer I wanted, so I used it. But it's true. It's true. Like when CPAs are sitting with a client, they're bringing with them years of experience and effort and investment and time and risk. And it's not about, can I be cheaper than the guy down the street? Because he's of the same mindset of, I've just got to compete and throw out a low price so I can beat the guy down up the street. It's about the value you bring. And I think that value, as you're going through evolution, should become more in line with what you're really worth.
But
not only that,
sorry to interrupt you. When you're not niching, your website looks the same as every other CPA or EA's website, you are now competing by price.
Totally.
And it's a race to the bottom. There's no value in being the second cheapest without an itch.
Mhm.
I mean, you either have to be the cheapest or you niche. And, maybe that's not totally true right now because there's a short supply of tax preparers, but it, generally if you don't speak to a specific audience, they're going to shop by price.
Well, what also happens too when you have that niche is that it brings up their value, like the value that they place upon their business, upon their investment, upon their lives. And they say, I want the best because of how much I value what I have. And that value then becomes something that transitions not only from their business and themselves, but to the services that are being provided. And, like with my daughter, if she's going to go get new ballet shoes, I'm probably going to pay a premium because she's my daughter and I want her to have really nice shoes. I don't want to just find the cheapest ones or the ones that have been used before. I want the best for her. And so I'm willing to pay a premium. And the same thing for a client that's thinking about their business. They want the best for their business and are willing to pay a premium for someone that is the best for the business.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
I had a prospect meeting this week with another partner in another firm, and the reason she sought me out was because I knew CPAs. I'm a coach. My dad was a CPA. I am a CPA. I've been in the business. I've been around the business. I've left the business 3 times. I've left public accounting 3 times now. And so, she's willing to pay a premium for my services because of the experience I bring to the service I'm providing.
Right.
And she values that. And she loves the fact that, that doesn't have to explain every detail, doesn't have to explain what the experience is like because she knows I know. And the same thing with clients for our CPAs on this call is that, the more that they can connect with their client base, their ability to charge, a premium is available because of the value they bring. Right. And it's not necessarily caught up in the hours that they've spent in school or with clients or whatever. It's the value of the situation for the client. If we can find a reason why the services we provide are so valuable to our clients, we'll allow ourselves to charge more. I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
I'll say it that way. I feel like we're getting too deep into pricing here. I feel like we should save this for a future conversation.
I know. It always ends up in pricing, doesn't it?
But let me just rewind the tape here a little bit. Identifying the ideal client avatar is an opportunity that is afforded to us very rarely, but it is here now in a summer month when it's less busy.
Yep.
Being able to sort our clients through whatever attributes or whatever's important to us and identifying the ones we'd like to work with and the ones we need to throw away or whatever spectrum you decide. Then being able to use that to attract additional clients, or at least put it out there in some form or fashion that's what you're looking for, or be able to vet what comes in naturally against it, allows us to start building more good clients with a list of the ones we need to get rid of at the same time. And then following that one out, more in methodology where we're accepting clients, we're removing the ones that we're not interested in. We overcome the fear because we've got an actual client coming in so we can get rid of one without worried about the financial impact of it.
Right.
And then moving into the fall with that same momentum, creating some active and passive opportunities for the business so that the evolution continues. And again, we break the hamster wheel. Good old intention.
Absolutely. Everything's, comes down to intentionality. Don't run it by default. So
yeah, it's that Stockdale paradox of knowing that we want it to be better, but we have to deal with where we're at.
Right. Awesome. Well, any closing remarks, Doug, or is that all we have for this week?
That's all I got today. That's all I got today.
All right, everyone, put your PP away and we will see you next week.
All right. Cheers. We want to thank you for watching the Practicing Accountant podcast. We hope that from this episode, you have a better idea of who it is you want to work with. And we hope you also are armed with the tools so that you can find that ideal client and begin to fill your practice with the ones that you want to work with. Please share and let others know about this podcast. We'd really appreciate it. And we thank you very much for your time and for watching. Goodbye.